Deep Threat Sports Network fans, welcome back. Hey, tonight's episode looks a little different. It's just me tonight. You're just riding along with me. The fellas are all busy. It's that time of year. You know, we have weddings and work and life outside of the podcast. So the fellas could not be with me this week. Also, it's been a busy week as well. You probably noticed that we did only have one episode this week, and it being this one tonight. And like I said, you're just rocking with me tonight. If you're listening on YouTube, you're going to get obviously all our graphics and all our good stuff that we can present that we make for you guys to make the visuals a lot better. But if you're following along on Apple or Spotify, listening back, hey, you're not going to get as much on the graphics, obviously. So I'm going to make sure and dive into it with you guys tonight as well. On this episode, it is jam-packed. We are going to do a little bit of a, not necessarily like a preview of the games conversation, maybe get into it just a little bit, but we've got a big headline that I'm sure if you follow college football, you know that we've been talking about and that you're seeing out there with Penn State. You know, I've kind of been on James Franklin in that conversation for a couple of years now. So going to dive into a little bit of the Penn State conversation to lead this episode off. And then like you do see on our review episodes, I'm going to do a little bit of the Heisman conversation, a little bit of the national champion conversation, odds that are out there. We're obviously still going to do our dog of the week from this last week in week 7 now. Man, the college football season is flying along. And then tonight on all the episodes, or on all the games, I should say, we have tons of games that I want to cover tonight. And since it's just me, I can kind of move along fairly quick. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to just beat games into oblivion because you do have to just listen to me. So I want to kind of keep it semi-smooth and exciting. That way I don't get real repetitive and semi-monotone on a football game. So you're just like, all right, Colin, speed it up, get it over with. But hey, like I said, you're rocking with just me tonight. And I've never had a solo episode. So this is new for me. Don't have somebody sitting across from me that I'm having a conversation with. So going to try to converse on my own. I'm not very good at talking to myself, but I'm definitely going to try and get that going with you guys tonight and make this kind of entertaining and still enjoyable for you all to listen to out there as much as possible. But the first order of business, like I did say, is let's talk a little bit about Penn State, right? What's going on with Penn State is we see longtime coach James Franklin get removed from the job after this last week's loss, and it kind of threw the college football world in kind of a tizzy, man. You have a lot of people out there that are saying, I cannot believe Penn State did this. If James Franklin wasn't safe, nobody was safe. Well, I think what you kind of saw with this and what took place is Penn State's trying to go a direction that James Franklin hasn't necessarily got them to yet. They haven't reached them new heights. It's always kind of been in the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, and then Penn State right there below them. And every once in a while, you'll see Penn State reach out and grab one of those two teams and beat them. But it's been very seldom with James Franklin. So I think with that a little bit, Penn State kind of got a little bit tired of that. I think they pushed all the chips in this year. And I think kind of what you saw happen here is they bring a lot of guys back. A lot of guys don't go to the draft. They kind of take that Ohio State method and try to cut from last year and try to come back and go get them a football championship this year. And Penn State wasn't achieving that. You see them lose to Oregon, and in that football game, some of us weren't surprised. What didn't come as a shock. It's something that Penn State doesn't do very well, and that's winning those big-time football games that have a lot to build on. What Penn State has always been good at under James Franklin is going and winning the games that they should win. Very seldom was James Franklin a coach at Penn State that dropped a game that they shouldn't win. And I think what's what you kind of saw happen this year. The last 2 weeks have not been good for them. You see them lose to a winless UNLV team when Penn State lost to UNLV, and UNLV was in a tizzy, had fired a coach, fired many coaches, and they had looked to have nothing going for them. So dropping that UNLV game right after the Oregon game was extremely ugly. And that's when conversations kind of started happening, right? And then you see them go out and drop a game this week to an opponent they shouldn't lose to. And after that game, the college football world was really ramped up on the James Franklin conversation. But I don't think anybody was a true believer that it was going to happen. And it did. And you see Penn State's athletic director host a press conference this week and talked about how I was going to sleep on it, but I just went for it. So I think what you saw him do is just felt like it needed to happen. Like it just felt like they were going nowhere and it wasn't going to happen with James Franklin. So he kind of moved on. And that was crazy in the college football world. Now, the big time conversations that we're having now is who's going to replace James Franklin at Penn State? Who's going to take this job? And you see all kinds of names coming up in media, and you've seen a lot of coaches kind of address it. You see today, Indiana, go lock up Curt Cignetti long time, give him a super lucrative deal. That way Curt Cignetti doesn't start sniffing around at the Penn State job because he's the most attractive coach on the market right now for these big teams. And Penn State may have been a team that could have pried Cignetti away. That's the easy answer that everybody that you listen to out there other than us is going to jump to and say Curt Cignetti. I was not ever a believer that Curt Cignetti was going to leave Indiana at this moment with what he has going on there for Penn State. But Indiana did a good job of locking him up long-term to make sure that he doesn't pique that interest and maybe go get that job. So what we have moving forward here, we have a lot of names coming up in conversation. You have Matt Rhule coming up in conversation, and they're hoping maybe they can pluck away Dylan Raiola with Matt Rhule to Penn State. We'll see where that goes. A couple of names that I like that aren't really getting talked about a lot is I love Alex Golesh from USF. You've seen him beat big-time Power 4 teams on his own right now down at USF. And another name I really like that I don't feel like is getting any traction that I feel like should is Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch has had success at all these jobs he's coached at. Jedd Fisch is a certified winner. He's a great coach, and he's a good recruiter. And I think he would do wonders there at Penn State. Another name that you're seeing pop up a lot is one that I'm not loving, but it's Eli Drinkwitz from here at Mizzou. And hey, man, Eli Drinkwitz has done a lot of good things. Fantastic recruiter. He's kind of that guy that's scared of nobody, isn't afraid to talk a little shit and rile things up. And I'll be honest with you, man. He goes to Penn State. He could do good things at Penn State. He already kind of recruits pretty well in that area. And I think what you would see him do is rile up coaches like Ryan Day at Ohio State. He'd rile up some coaches like Dan Lanning at Oregon, and he would really get things going, I think, in the right direction for Penn State. But one thing that I'm going to say is everybody that follows our network knows I'm not a James Franklin lover. But, man, it's going to be hard to find a guy that could truly have more success all the time at Penn State like James Franklin did. Like I said earlier when I brought this topic up, Penn State and James Franklin won the games they were supposed to win. He just never got them over the hump. So that's kind of where we're at with the Penn State conversation right now. Obviously, that's one of the biggest talking points in all of college football. So I wanted to make sure that we get out there and cover that a little bit. So what I'm going to jump into right now is I'm going to have a little bit of the Heisman conversation myself. You know, usually I bounce these things off Bryant, Dave, Nolan, and get their opinion on this. This episode, like I said, it's just me, man. So you're going to get my opinions on this. On this Heisman list, if you're following us here on YouTube, we got this list from DraftKings. There's probably, I don't know, this looks like a pretty big list, probably 20 to 30 names on this list. I'm not going to count it out here for you, but a couple of names that I'm definitely selling at this point that you see pop up on this list. I'm out on John Mateer, man. 6 picks, 6 touchdown passes, lose a football game this last week to Texas. I know you came back off injury. I felt like it was too soon. I felt like Oklahoma had more to lose with playing John Mateer than they did without playing him, because I felt like, and if you followed us on last week's episode on the preview show, I said, hey, man, if you're Brent Venables, why play John Mateer? Because if you lose and John Mateer is not in the football game, you can easily pitch this to the committee down the stretch if you have a good season the rest of the way and say, well, we didn't have our quarterback. That's why we lost that game. That's why we lost to a struggling Texas football team. Well, John Mateer plays, and he struggled. Didn't look great. So I think that was kind of a mistake on them. I get that you wanted to play your guy and had the best chance to win. Wasn't impressed with John Mateer in that football game, and I haven't really been impressed with John Mateer most of this season. Another guy on this list that I'm kind of really telling myself that I'm out on at this point, and you see him fall way down the list, is obviously a Garrett Nussmeier. I'm kind of out on him. I'm out on the Trinidad Chambliss thing. If you follow us here, you know I'm a big fan of Trinidad Chambliss, but I don't think he has what it takes and has the games played to necessarily go get a Heisman Trophy this season. Now they have a big football game this week, and we're going to touch on that game. And if he wins and has a good game, you're going to see him fly up this list, but I'm still kind of out on that. I'm back in on the Fernando Mendoza train, man. They went up, absolutely belt to ass an Oregon football team on the road, and Mendoza leading the helm. That's impressive, man. That's good stuff right there. The other top 2 guys on this list is Carson Beck at plus 360 and Ty Simpson at plus 380. Give me all I can on Carson Beck at plus 360 and Ty Simpson at plus 380. I'm all in on those 2 guys at the top of this list right now, and I think that's where it's right. You heard us all season long kind of keep buying on the Dante Moore train and hyping him up, and you saw him work up the list kind of as we were talking about him. We were almost a week early every time on the Dante Moore. We'd bring him up. He'd move up the list the next week. I'm backtracking a little bit on the Dante Moore thing, mainly because of that loss to Indiana at home. I think that has a glaring effect on what it takes whenever it comes to win the Heisman, that you didn't get the job done there. Along with the Heisman, you know what we always do here as well? Let's talk about the national championship odds. And on this list right here, I'll just kind of go over the top 6 real quick so I don't get real repetitive. You have Ohio State 1, Bama 2, Miami 3, Indiana 4, Georgia 5, Oregon 6. I'm going to go one more, A&M 7, And that's where I'm going to stop it, because right below that's Notre Dame and Texas. I'm not in on them. I'm still out on Notre Dame, Texas. I still don't think they're going to go win a national championship. I still don't know if those teams are even going to make the playoffs. And I would say it's more likely that Texas doesn't make the playoffs than if they do. Notre Dame's schedule from this point forward, it's easy after this week. Going to talk on that game in a little bit. So if they do win this one and they win out like they should with that schedule, I'm not going to sit here and tell you anymore that Notre Dame doesn't make the playoffs, because their name's Notre Dame. And that's a huge help and benefit for Notre Dame to make the playoffs. Now, with those teams that I just talked about in that top 6, I'm obviously all in on Ohio State at this point. Ohio State has everything it looks like it takes. It almost looks to me like they're kind of in cruise control, almost like last year a little bit, kind of just cruising, coasting, managing some snaps for some guys, not letting guys get too worn down. And they're just doing their thing, man. They're taking care of business. Ryan Day knows what it takes to win a national championship now, and things look really good for them. I'm going to be honest. Everybody's listening to us out there, I'm out on Georgia. I was all in on Georgia at the beginning of the season. I thought Kirby had enough to get this team going. I thought Gunnar Stockton could do enough to get this team going. But it looks to me, the more I watch Gunnar Stockton in this Georgia offense, it's pretty bland. And also with that Georgia team, they don't have that Georgia defense that we're used to the last 5, 6, 7 seasons, where they're littered with first-round talent and they got a hell of a pass rush. And if they have any holes on the defense, they can cover it up with the guys that they have up front. And if their offense wasn't that good and they just ran the hell out of the football and worked the clock, the defense could go get them stops. Now, is Georgia's team still good? Yes, it's still good. Is Kirby Smart still a great coach? Yes, Kirby Smart's still a great coach. If you told me tomorrow Georgia ended up winning the national championship this year, I'd be a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't be all that shocked, because it's still Georgia. One team that I'm still buying in on, that I kind of bought in before the season started in the preseason, that people thought I was a little bit crazy, is Miami, man. Miami at plus 900. I love what they bring to the table. I think they're coasting at this point in the ACC. I think they have what it takes. I've said it over and over again, and everybody else on Deep Threat Sports Network has as well with me. They have the best trenches in the country, offensive and defensive. They're really damn good. They're a solid football team. After we watched Bama beat Mizzou this week, Bama's a really damn good football team. And I'll be honest, not to get on the Mizzou hype, but Mizzou's a better football team than I even thought. I thought they looked like the better football team a lot of that football game. They just came up short, and they just didn't have what it takes to win a high-caliber football game, and I think they got out-coached. You see a lot of coaches when you play these big-time schools like Alabama, Ohio State, you see coaches get super antsy and try to outsmart the game and just not let the game come to them, and I think that's what happened to Mizzou in that football game. But I love what Bama's doing. I think they got things clicking on all cylinders. I think they do have some holes here and there, but I think Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in the country. And with the best quarterback in the country, you always have a chance to go win you a national championship. And I think Ty Simpson gives them what they need to get that done. You saw him make big-time throws against Mizzou, and that is leading me right into the next conversation that we are going to have, and that is our dog of the week from this last week, and it is Ty Simpson. And with this, you don't see gaudy numbers. You don't see absolutely crazy stats like what we usually see on our dog of the week. But what Ty Simpson did in that football game is he went 23 of 31 for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, like I said, not crazy stats. Those are not absolutely crazy stats. But, man, I was so impressed that when the team needed it the most, when they needed a boost, when they needed somebody to pick them up, Ty Simpson was there to get the job done. And I was really, really impressed. I was even more impressed with him in this football game than I have been all season long, because you saw Mizzou's defense really step up, man. You really did. And they made it challenging for them, and they got a pass rush going, and they knocked Ty Simpson off his mark, and they made him get out of the pocket, make throws on the run. There was I think it was 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 5, somewhere in that range, and you see him roll out to his left, and because they have a hell of a pass rush, Mizzou does, getting home to him. And, man, he drops an absolute deep out route dime for a first down. That is what it takes to win big-time football games and to lead your team to what we call a national championship. And I think Ty Simpson has what it takes. And Bama is damn good again. And their receiving core is damn good again. And you saw him have this much success without really utilizing Ryan Williams, which is what makes it even more impressive. So hats off to Ty Simpson. He is the SN's dog. Okay, so after the dog of the week here, we're going to talk about our top 25 just a little bit here. We didn't get into our review episode, and so That is why we're going to talk about our dog of the week here a little bit. Let me get our logo off the screen here. Bear with me, too, on this episode. I have no buffer of other guys talking, so I'm producing, doing all the talking, doing all those things at the same time. So maybe a little slower. You may hear a little more clicks of the mouse, but just bear with me. I'm working on it. Hey, Josh, come on in with the comment. Show me the boot, Daddy. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, foot surgery is on the table for me. As you know, I just had my wisdom teeth cut out. Now it's time to get the foot operated on, and I'm in a massive boot. Josh, if I was anywhere near flexible as you're giving me credit for on that comment, I would get my foot up here and show you the boot. But the boot ain't getting up here, buddy. It's from ankle to knee, and it's pretty damn impressive. I won't lie to you about that. Just trust me on it, will you? Okay, so our top 25 here this week that we're dropping, you know how we do things around here. We grade you on your resume, what you've done so far. This is not a power rating. This is just what teams are showing us. This is what you've done with your resume of work so far this season. Some of you may love it. Some of you may hate it. So moving into our top 25 this week, we have Washington making a comeback. UNLV also getting in here. So UNLV at 25, Washington 24, Nebraska 23, Utah 22, USC 21. And 20 through 16 is BYU 20, Cincinnati 19, 18 Oklahoma, 17 Vandy, 16 Virginia. 15 through 11, LSU 15, Memphis 14, Georgia Tech 13, USF 12, Mizzou 11. 10 through 6, Tennessee 10, Georgia 9, Ole Miss 8, Texas Tech 7, Oregon 6. 5 through 1, you have Alabama 5, Texas A&M 4, Indiana 3, Miami 2, Ohio State 1. Our top 25 here, we love what we do. We converse. We have plenty of good conversations about this. We debate amongst each other. Sometimes the debates get heated. Sometimes we have overarching opinions on things, and we make a stance for a team, and then we come together with cooler heads and put this list together. Now, what I'm going to do in this episode, since it is just me talking, is I'm going to pick a couple teams out on this list that I think don't last in this top 25 really much longer, and they may not even make an appearance the rest of the season. The first thing I'm going to talk about is BYU. I don't want to spoil too much, but BYU's resume to this point, they won the games. That's why they're on this list, right? That's what we do. But BYU hasn't beat anybody that just blows you away, that is impressive, that lights up the stat sheets, and you're just like, damn, BYU really took care of business on a good football team there, because they haven't done that just yet. But they're about to be tested this week against Utah, and I think Utah might give them one hell of a fight. Another team on this list that I think could possibly drop out after this week is UNLV. And we're going to talk about that game as well. We're going to cover like 11 football games here for you. And I keep saying me. I'm going to cover 11 football games here for you tonight, I believe. And that UNLV Boise State game is going to have tons of implications. It's a bigger game for UNLV than it is for Boise State at this point. And those are the two teams that I think necessarily don't have that much longer on this list. Another team that I think you could see maybe go kind of down the shitter, as we like to call it here, is Oklahoma. They're kind of reeling right now. What do? Do they find themselves? Do they get it right? How does it really work out for them? Georgia Tech at 13 on this list. They have a tough game this week at Duke. Hey, I'm going to cover that game for you as well. So those are a couple teams that I think could fall out, and a couple of teams that I think for real on this list. Obviously, I'm going to go with my top 4 that are on this list that we put up here in Ohio State, Miami, Indiana, A&M. They have great resumes. They've taken care of games. They've belt-to-ass opponents all season long, and they're doing what they need to do, and they have some of the most impressive wins in all of college football. I'm anxious to see as well. We have our number 8 Ole Miss and number 9 Georgia matching up this week. How do those two shake out? Which one of those comes out with the dub in that football game? Because that's a big-time football game as well, with lots of implications on that football game. So that is our top 25. Like I said, if you're following us on podcasts and Spotify, I try to read it off to you so you guys know where we have teams ranked. Obviously, if you're with us on YouTube, you can see the graphics here, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier. So we encourage you to get with us on YouTube, even if you have to watch it back on YouTube, because we do like to show you our graphics. We do all these ourselves as well. We build these and do everything on our own, man. This is a grind for us as well. So I'm going to get a drink here real quick, and then I'm going to get right into our quickie preview. The first thing that I want to say this week about our quickie preview is it's going to be a little bit different. There is no real big main game previews for you this week because, like I said earlier in this episode, if you weren't with us yet and you're with us now, is I don't want to get so damn repetitive that you have to turn it off and you're just like, all right, dude, I've heard enough, and you're going off on a tangent on this game. Let's get on with it. Let's get to the next one. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do like a little bit of a quickie and a main game combination. I'm going to give you all the details that I think you need to know in the football game, but I'm going to keep it brief, and I'm going to kind of roll right through it and keep things as semi-entertaining and it's easy to follow along as I can. Just bear with me here as I add the last few football games onto my graphic screen here so I have them ready to go for you guys when the time does come. But the first game that we are going to talk about tonight on this quickie/main game breakdown that I have for you in store is Louisville at Miami. This is a hell of an ACC matchup. This is usually a damn good football game. You saw these two teams go back and forth last year, and it was one of the most entertaining games of the season. This game is at Miami. This game is Friday night, the 17th at 6 p.m. ESPN. So make sure you don't miss it. It's a Friday night game, not a Saturday game, but they gave us a banger on a Friday night. The line when we made these graphics sat at Miami minus 13.5, the over-under of 52.5. Louisville 4-1, Miami 5-0. And I'm looking really forward to this football game too because I think Louisville has way more questions to answer than what Miami does. Louisville has really looked to struggle at times so far throughout this season, especially offensively. We had tons of expectations for Miller Moss, the quarterback that transferred into Louisville from USC. Tons of expectations for Isaac Brown. We saw Isaac Brown's name all over the Doak Walker awards list preseason, and he's kind of been a letdown up to this point. They haven't really got him going. Miller Moss has really kind of been a letdown at this point, just hasn't been real impressive. Doesn't look like he's the guy that when the going gets tough can necessarily go get you a football game. But what I think Miami needs to do in this football game is don't overlook this. And I'm not saying they're going to, but at this point, Miami knows they're good, and they know that they have loads of talent. And when teams get like that, they get a little bit complacent at times. And some of these sneaky good opponents that are well coached, like Louisville with Jeff Brom, they can sneak up and they can punch you in the mouth. And you find them, if you're Miami, in the game late. They're only down 3. They may be up 3. It's tied. It's late in the fourth quarter. And you got to kind of right the ship and get it going and get your team bought in that, hey, we got to get going before they punch us in the mouth to win this football game. So I want to see Miami lock in. They're coming off that bye. I don't want to see them be stale. And one thing about this, too, is this is really the most glaring chance for Miami to lose a football game moving forward this season. The schedule after this game is relatively easy, especially for this Miami team. We know Mario Cristobal and Miami are known to give one away. Just don't give this away, man. You got a damn good football team. Take care of business, and don't let Louisville be the reason that you got midseason and lose this perfect record that you have going on. Carson Beck has looked absolutely spectacular up to this point. He's answered all the questions. If he was going to come back from injury and throw the football, I think he's answered a lot of the questions that was put on him last year at Georgia. Is Carson Beck the problem? No, Carson Beck wasn't the problem. It was everything that we said it was last season. The receivers were not good. They had a lot of drops, led the league in drops, and not led the league, but I think they were like arguably the worst Power 4 team in drops last year there at Georgia and gave Carson Beck no real hope. And you see Carson Beck have nothing but talent and that receiving core this year. And one guy that I myself was on after their very first football game this season was Malachi Toney. That dude is 100% a difference maker. You heard it here first in week 1 when I said this is the next Tyreek Hill. This is the Tyreek Hill vibes this guy gives me. This guy catches the ball, makes a difference. We see him take screens through the house. He's arguably one of the best route runners in college football this season. This guy is a freshman. The sky is the limit for Malachi Toney. And when the ball is in his hands, man, is that guy an absolute difference maker. Now, with that being said, I don't love Miami's run game that much. It's okay. It's not great. It's not a difference maker for them. The difference really comes from the trenches. We talk about it all the time. That offensive line, that defensive line, they do not get pushed around by many people, if anyone. So I think they're going to dominate the football game. They're going to put pressure in Miller Moss's face all game long, and they're going to get home and make going really tough for him. What Louisville does have going for them is Lacey and Bell are spectacular receivers. If Miller Moss can buy some time and stay up on his feet and complete some passes and make some big-time throws, man, I think they potentially have a chance. I just think that, man, Miami's defense just absolutely suffocates them. Miami's pass defense has had tons of success, and I am all in on this Miami football team, and I think they do handle business. We have a comment coming in from Mike. Hey, also, if you're following along with this, I see we have a couple listeners out there tonight. Give me some comments, man. I'll have all the interaction tonight that you guys want. I don't have anybody else to talk to, so when you throw up comments, I'm going to give you all the answers that I can give you guys tonight. Mike asks, can Miami compete with the best of the SEC and Big Ten? Man, Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. I do think that. I think that Miami can compete with the best of the SEC and the Big Ten, and the reason being is because, like I say all the time, I'm beating it into oblivion at this point. Their trenches can match up with anybody in the SEC, anybody in the Big Ten. Carson Beck can make the big-time throws. Carson Beck is arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And if you remember right, he hanged and banged with all the teams in the SEC the last couple of seasons there at Georgia. So I think he definitely can lead this team. The biggest question that I have for Miami is the same question I always have for Miami. What got him last year? Mario Cristobal. Can he keep his head on straight, and can he do the things that he needs to do as a coach to put his team in the best position to succeed? And if that's the case, sky's the limit for this Miami football team. Really like what I'm seeing out of them. Louisville, I got more questions for you than I do answers at this point. You win this football game, I'd be real damn impressed, and it'd be a hell of a win for you to chalk up on your season. The next football game that we're going to talk about here tonight, LSU at Vanderbilt. This game's Saturday the 18th at 11 a.m. on ABC. Vandy was sitting at -2.5. The over-under at 48.5. Now, one thing I see in this football game, both these teams are 5-1. When I look at this, the narrative on these teams is a little bit different. And I think the narrative on these teams is a little bit different because LSU had such high expectations and Vandy kind of had some mid expectations. And the reason they only had mid expectations is because of what they did last year and the swagger and the moxie of Diego Pavia that he brings to that football team. And honestly, Clark Lee too. Clark Lee is a great coach for this Vanderbilt program because he's got a little bit of swag to him too, a little bit of the chip on the shoulder, a little bit of the, it's us against the world, FU mentality. And I like that. I like that from the Pavia and the Clark Lee over there at Vandy. But like we said after that football game when they lost to Alabama was, okay, let's reel it in a little bit. Let's be a little bit more realistic. Let's get back to not being so arrogant and think you're just the best damn football team out there and you're the best players on the field because let's be realistic. You're not. Get back to that chip on the shoulder. Get back to the Diego Pavia that got Diego Pavia from New Mexico. I don't know if it was Mexico or New Mexico State, from that program to Vanderbilt, to an SEC school, to where you led success last year and to where you played and you shocked the country when you beat Alabama and you played with the chip and you played a little bit hard-nosed football. You played a little bit after the whistle and you knocked some people's asses in the dirt. Get back to that. But what people are doing with the narrative I'm talking about a little bit is people are still building up Vanderbilt, and they should. They're a good football team, but they're building them up, and they're like, oh, my Lord, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt can go battle out in the SEC and maybe go to the SEC championship. Pump the brakes because LSU's 5-1, and you're doing the exact opposite to them because they had such high expectations. Man, LSU, they're just not that good. I'm just not impressed with them. I don't like what I see. I don't think that they're going to make it to the SEC championship like we thought. Pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not saying LSU's going to win this football game, but these two football teams are kind of going through the same things a little bit. So why is the narrative flipped so much for Vandy and flipped so bad for LSU? Now, with that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit about what might possibly be the reason that LSU is getting that conversation. And it's because Garrett Nussmeier was supposed to be the first quarterback arguably in the draft taken, and Garrett Nussmeier doesn't look like that guy right now. We said it on this network in like week 1 before word kind of got out a little bit. He doesn't look right. He looks a little bit banged up. And what makes a little bit banged up quarterback look maybe a little bit worse is when your offensive line is not that great. And when your run game is really not that great. You really don't even necessarily can say that you have one. So it makes it really tough on Nussmeier when you don't feel that well to go be that great. With that being said, I also don't think LSU's receivers are all that great. So the going does get a little bit tough. Now, this is a football game that they can answer a lot of questions because people think so highly of Vanderbilt. There's nobody, I think, in their right mind that in week 1 of the season would have said that Vanderbilt was a -2.5-point favorite against LSU. The only person that I maybe would say that to is Dave right here on this network because Dave loves him some Diego Pavia. They're kinfolk, and Dave loves him some Vanderbilt football. So Dave might have said that, but I would have called Dave crazy on week 1. But hey, look at this. Dave might have been right again. So I think LSU has way more to gain in this football game by showing the country that, hey, we're still here. We've coasted. We need to figure it out, and we're going to figure it out. And Brian Kelly, you also need to figure it out as the head coach of that football team and get this team going in the right direction. On the flip side of this LSU football team, their defense is spectacular. Spectacular defense. They have proven that they can take this football team to new heights that they couldn't do last year. And if the offense gets going, they are going to be as damn dangerous as it gets. And you all know out there that I love me some Whit Weeks. This LSU defense needs to force Pavia to play that hero ball where he tries to do way too much and it forces him to turn the ball over. rush from the outside, keep him inside the pocket, and if he has to run, let him run up the middle instead of getting outside and getting loose. Vandy on the other side needs to run the damn football, man. They showed that they can run the football in Alabama, and they did a damn good job of it, and they just got away from the run game. Once again, like I said earlier, when you play those big-time schools like Alabama, you overthink things as a coach, and you get away from what you're good at, and it causes you to lose football games. Just play your damn football. Play with a chip on your shoulder, run the football, and allow this damn thing to hum. And I think that they're going to have a chance in the football game. I do want to see Vandy get Eli Stowers going a little bit more in this football game. And what makes Vanderbilt offense very, very good is that they are really damn good at third downs. They are the number 2 team in the country on third down on conversions. They're very good at getting the third and manageable, third and short, and I love that they're doing that well, and that's what keeps them so dangerous. Pavia is dangerous when it's third and short. What are they going to do? Can Pavia get the first down? They are coming off the bye, so they will be well rested. And this, let's be honest, man, this place is going to be packed. This is LSU coming into Vanderbilt, and how often does Vandy play LSU when both teams are 5-1? Doesn't happen often. So tune into this football game. This is going to be another good one. The next game that we're going to talk about here is Georgia Tech at Duke. This game Saturday the 18th, 11 a.m. on ESPN. Duke minus 1.5, over under 61.5. Going to grab another swig here and get back to it. This is a hell of a conference football game as well. This game, honestly, a lot of people don't probably realize this. Duke's record's 4-2, but Duke's 3-0 in conference play. The winner of this football game might be the team that goes on and plays Miami in the ACC championship football game. And yeah, I'm confident saying Miami is who they're going to play, unless the wheels just completely fall off the wagon. Before the season started, I was all in on the Duke win total over 6.5. I thought it was disrespectful. I love Darian Mensah coming in here, and they willingly shipped away Malik Murphy and brought in Darian Mensah and went and got a hell of a splash in the portal at quarterback position. I think that they're a really good football team. I think they're really well coached. Manny Diaz does a great job there coaching up his defense and getting things right. But I'm also a really big believer in Haynes King. And what Haynes King does is we see it time and time again, just will his football team to win football games. That is the only reason you can never count Georgia Tech out. And I think that is why they're going to keep this game close. And probably a lot of you out there are shocked that Duke is a minus 1.5 favorite. But, man, this is what Duke's good at. And Darian Mensah's averaging 306 yards per game with a 9-yard per attempt average. That's really damn good. Haynes King's averaging under 200 yards per game. But on the flip side of this is Haynes King is a much better runner of the football. You're going to see him get his carries. He's going to get his touches. You're going to see him get up slow. That's what he does. The guy gets banged up and gets up and goes back out, does it again, gets banged up, gets up, and it's rinse and repeat for Haynes King and this Georgia Tech football team. One thing that blew my mind a little bit is since week 5, Duke is a top 10 team in coverage in the secondary on a opposing team's passing attack. That makes Duke really damn good. If Duke can take away this Georgia Tech passing attack that is fairly average, then this is going to make it maybe a long night for Georgia Tech, and Duke can really just hone in on this rushing attack. Now, Georgia Tech does have some guys that we can see get out in space and make some things happen, but I like what Duke brings to the table here. Starting cornerback, Amari Harvey is out for Georgia Tech. That's a big loss in this football game because Duke has some really good pass catchers, and Barquette and Brown. Those guys are really damn good. And like I said a second ago, Darian Mensah, 306 yards per game, 9 yards per attempt. You don't want to have a starting cornerback out when you're facing a guy that can sling the rock around the football field like that. This is going to be a really, really competitive and entertaining football game. So if you're a football fan, tune into this one. Don't just overlook this because this says Georgia Tech at Duke. This is going to be a really damn good football game. And I'm happy that Duke has turned the page and got things going in the right direction because I was a big believer in Duke and what they brought to the table. The next football game that we have here on this list is Washington at Michigan. This game's Saturday the 18th, 11 a.m. on Fox. Michigan's minus 5.5. The over-under is 50.5. And when I look at this football game right away, Washington's 5-1, Michigan's 4-2. I was a big believer in taking the Michigan under 9.5 win total and a big believer in taking the Washington over 7.5 win total preseason. This is one of those games I talked about when I talked about both those teams' win-loss records on the win total episode. Washington has to get this one, and Michigan can't win this one if you're on the under. And what I like about this matchup a little bit for Washington is I think USC last week exposed this Michigan offensive line and Bryce Underwood a little bit more. Bryce Underwood was catching a lot of hype there for a little bit, and he should, dude. He's an absolute phenom coming out of high school. The dude is built like a brick shit house and can do all things great. He's just a freshman. So I think that is where you kind of see the hiccups a little bit. And then that offensive line's not your typical Michigan offensive line. It exposes some things a little bit. Washington needs to get the pressure going, hit the gaps, and put this Michigan offensive line in fits again. I agree with Mike. Mike's comment comes in here. Hey, Washington's underrated. Yes, they are, man. People completely wrote Washington off because of that loss to Ohio State. Well, who doesn't lose to Ohio State? I know they didn't score many points in that football game, but who does score many points against Ohio State in their football games? Nobody. And we'll talk about that on the review episode, I should say. Washington was banged up, man. I'm not saying they were going to go win it, but they were a banged up football team. They just wanted to run the ball and get out of there and keep it close and keep it respectable and not have an absolute splattering on national TV because people watch Ohio State football games. So I'm with you, Mike. I think Washington's very underrated. Washington loves to blitz. Jedd Fisch, as a coach, loves to get his team to blitz, and I think that you're going to see that again in this football game. How do you beat young freshman quarterbacks? You blitz them. You put pressure in their face. You knock them off their mark. You make the going tough. You make them uncomfortable. No quarterback likes to be hit, but I can promise you no freshman quarterback likes to be hit. That is for damn sure. This Washington offense is very good at getting it to third and short offensively, and they're very good at converting on third down. They're converting at a top 10 clip in the country at 54%. And the three-headed monster they have on offense and Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, and Denzel Boston, dude, that is truly arguably a top trio in the country. They have a top receiver, a top running back, and then they can put it all together. I love what I see. This is not your Michigan defense that you saw the last couple of years. They're good, but this is not your typical Michigan defense. And I think Washington matches up really well with Michigan in this football game. On the flip side of the third down thing, you guys know on this network, I love talking about third downs because I'm a firm believer the trenches and third down conversions is where you win football games offensively and defensively. And Michigan does not do a very good job at converting on third downs. 39%. That doesn't get the job done most of the time. I mean, you were failing at a pretty excessive rate, and I don't like that, especially with your freshman quarterback. And Justice Haynes, the best part of your offense, is a little bit banged up at the running back position for Michigan going into this football game. Now, one thing that I will say that we have rode Michigan on for a couple of years now is they don't really have pass catchers. It was Colston Loveland or bust a couple of years ago. Now, last week we saw a guy come alive in Andrew Marsh. He had 8 catches for 138 yards and a touchdown against USC. Those numbers for Michigan, holy shit. Those are spectacular. That is something that Michigan has not found, and they may have found it with Andrew Marsh. So build on that, especially if your run game's a little banged up. Let Bryce Underwood draw plays up for Andrew Marsh and let him do his thing. Washington has 900 yards on the ground this season and 15 touchdowns between Damon Williams and Jonah Coleman. 15 touchdowns between those two guys running the football. You are going to see a lot of that again in this football game as well. You're not going to see no 15 touchdowns. But what you're going to see is a lot of Damon Williams and Jonah Coleman coming at you right at your damn face. That's why I like this Washington football team. And like I said, Denzel Boston is an absolute nightmare cover for anybody in the country. Michigan doesn't have that lockdown first-round caliber cornerback like they've had in years past. I think Denzel Boston and Damon Williams can, shock the country with this game, and I think they can go win it because this game being at 11 helps Washington. Nobody wants to play Michigan at night. And everybody's counting Washington out with this line being -5.5. So like what I'm seeing from Washington, and I'm with you when Mike made that comment, they're underrated. People wrote them off after Ohio State, but they did nothing less against Ohio State than anybody else in the country has. And I'm anxious to see how this football game plays out. Tons to gain for Washington right there, by the way, in the Big Ten. They can get to that next tier up and prove that, hey, we are here. We're contenders. Let us get another crack at this thing with Ohio State down the road, and it might look a little bit different. Next football game on the docket here, Oklahoma at South Carolina, Saturday the 18th, 11:45 a.m. on SEC Network. Oklahoma -5.5, over under 43.5 in this football game. Also, if you're following along with me here, make sure you're liking, subscribing, hitting the alerts. Make sure that you're telling your friends that we're live and we give you guys good content. We just got to keep growing this thing. Talked about it last week a little bit. We're well over the 100 subscriber mark now, so that's awesome stuff. And we have talked about doing some more giveaways since we reached that 100 subscriber mark. Just help us keep growing, man. I feel like we give you guys tons of good content, and we really dive into this thing. So back to this football game, Oklahoma at South Carolina. If Oklahoma didn't look absolutely horrendous on offense last week, most likely probably wouldn't be discussing this game on this episode because South Carolina's kind of fallen off their mark. They're 3-3. Why are we talking about this football game? Well, like I said, it's because Oklahoma's offense didn't look that good. Oklahoma's still a top 25 ranked team. People still have high aspirations for Oklahoma this season. They're 5-1. And at this point, you still should because Oklahoma's defense is bar none, man. This is one of the best defensive units in the country. But how does that offense get going, man? Their pass catchers have kind of let me down a little bit. They got a couple of good receivers there, but I've kind of been a little let down with them. I feel like it's a lot of John Mateer making some things happen, and that's why you see John Mateer throw 6 interceptions so far. It is hero ball with John Mateer. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago before they got into conference play real heavy, and it was week in and week out when Oklahoma gets to play these better opponents. The hero ball shit that John Mateer does may not work anymore. It may not work against better defenses. It may not work against these better opponents and these better coaches and these guys that can really scheme up things to shut down the John Mateer level of football. I do like what Arbuckle's done there with the offense. It definitely looks a lot better than last year, which didn't take much. But one thing that is still completely absent for Oklahoma is the run game. They still have no run game at all. And if your quarterback's coming back from an injury, I feel like you're going to want to run the football. And that's something that Oklahoma just really can't do yet. And I don't like that for them. On the flip side of this a little bit, South Carolina's offense is pretty boom or bust as well. It's a lot of the Lenore Sellers. He's kind of got to be a hero. They don't have a run game either. And the offensive line doesn't look spectacular. And the receivers like Nick Harbor still haven't done what people were hoping Nick Harbor would do. But what Nick Harbor does well is run fast in a straight line and sometimes burn some defenses and get open. And Sellers has a cannon, so he can get it to him. So if you're Oklahoma, what you need to do is not let explosive plays happen, and you're gonna beat you're gonna beat South Carolina. That's what you're gonna do. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, Jordan. Thanks for the comment, buddy. Thanks for getting in here. But what Oklahoma's defense is gonna do is they play physical. They're in your face all night long. They suffocate you. They give you no life, and they make things absolute hell for opposing quarterbacks. That's what Oklahoma's gonna do for Lenore Sellers. Once again, like the Pavia situation earlier, you need to bring the blitz from the outside and force Lenore Sellers inside and not allow him to get out and extend plays and chuck the ball deep to Jacobs or Harbor because they get behind the defense. So you need to keep them in front of you if you're Oklahoma's defense. I don't think South Carolina is a football team that can sustain long drives down the field. I don't think they can get to third down and convert and then get to third down and convert again. And again, I don't think they can have those long drives down the field. They're very much so, we got to get it, and we got to get it now, and we got to get off the field and hope our defense makes a stand. What I think can happen in this football game, you see the over-under at 43.5 for a reason. That is because both these defenses are going to get after the quarterback, and they're going to make them turn the ball over. There's 8 interceptions between the two. 6 of those on Mateer, 2 of those on the Lenore Sellers. So they are not afraid to throw the ball and force it and have some interceptions. Whichever quarterback doesn't have interceptions in this football game will be the team that wins it. Whoever takes care of the football and does convert on third downs and sustains the drives, that's the team that's going to win the football game in this matchup. And I think it does set up to be a pretty damn entertaining football game because of that. So looking forward to this. Don't overlook this because South Carolina's 3-3. I think Oklahoma is very much so a vulnerable football team at this moment in time. How does Brent Venables right the ship in years past? He hasn't. Is this a new Brent Venables and a new Oklahoma football team? If so, they go handle business. This is not going to be an easy place to play. If you follow college football, you know this place is going to be popping in South Carolina. Okay, another football game that we have here on the list is a heavyweight SEC matchup in Ole Miss at Georgia. Saturday the 18th, 2:30 p.m. on ABC. Georgia -7, over under a 54.5. Ole Miss 6-0, Georgia 5-1, and kind of like I said in this last game, not to get cliche here and repetitive, but this game is another one that's truly lost with the quarterback battle. What does Gunnar Stockton do? What does Trinidad Chambliss do? I love me some Trinidad Chambliss, and if you follow this show, you know I love me some Trinidad Chambliss. But I think there are times in these bigger games with these better opponents that he's a very vulnerable quarterback. I think he is a very beatable quarterback, and sometimes it scares me for Ole Miss moving forward. And this is a prime example in a matchup that I think it is very vulnerable for this Ole Miss football team. I'll be honest, I can't sit here and say that I think Ole Miss is unbeatable. I can't say that I think they're that damn good. And this line reflects it. I know they're undefeated, but man, I don't think their offensive line's that great. Their rushing attack's okay. I don't think their defense has the dudes like they did last year. They had a hell of a defensive line last year and a linebacking core that could make it hell for opposing teams. I don't think they had that as much anymore. And when I look at Ole Miss too, I don't think you can just rely on Trinidad to throw the football all over the field and get you out of hard times and go win you football games. Yeah, he's got some good legs and he can extend drives with his legs a little bit. And that's what does make him sometimes a lethal quarterback. On the flip side of that, same exact thing with Gunnar Stockton in Georgia. Georgia's pass rush, this is not the Georgia pass rush that we're used to. That's for damn sure. It's not that great. Their defense is okay. That's all I can say. There's okay. A very beatable defense, a very beatable secondary. Rewind to the Tennessee game. Dude, it was chuck and pray for Tennessee on this secondary, and it worked. Old Georgia doesn't allow that to happen. Old Georgia gets home on the pass rush. So I think that's why I said this is truly one of the quarterback battles. Which one of these guys can make some shit happen? Both can extend drives with their legs. Gunnar Stockton's a damn good runner. People don't realize that sometimes, but he's not afraid to try to run somebody over and go head-to-head with you and extend the drive. That's why I like Gunnar Stockton. He's a hard-nosed quarterback. That's why I like Trinidad Chambliss. Those guys can try to make some things happen. But neither one of these teams are what they were last year, and I think that's what makes this kind of an interesting matchup, is I think both teams are very beatable. Both teams are very vulnerable. Obviously, this game being at Georgia gives them the benefit. And this Georgia rushing attack is suspect at times, especially paired with that passing attack that's suspect at times. I still am looking for true difference makers, that receiver. It's a much better receiving core than they had last year, but it's still not one that you look at and you fear. I don't really think opponents are scared of that Georgia passing attack, and they shouldn't be. So I don't know. This game looks to be a very vulnerable matchup. It does set either one of these teams up very well moving forward with the win. If Ole Miss can get to 7-0 and have a resume builder like Georgia on the road, on that resume, it's going to be tough for anybody to end up putting a resume at the end of the season together like Ole Miss has for these first 7 football games. So what I think Ole Miss has to do is get out there and hop out early and suffocate Georgia and not allow them to fight back, because Georgia fighting back is going to be tough. I don't think Georgia is set up to fight back big-time deficits. I know they did against Tennessee, and once again, I'm not sold that Tennessee is world beaters either. So I think that's why they're able to do that. So if Georgia can not allow Ole Miss to get out early, that gets the fans into it, that keeps everybody involved, and that is where Georgia can go cover this spread of 7 points. Flip side of Ole Miss, same thing. You need to get out early and not allow Georgia to cover this 7 and take care of business early and play your damn game of football. So good football game here. I know most people will have their eyes on this because it's an Ole Miss Georgia football game, and you should. It's going to be a damn good one. This game right here, some of you may be shocked that I had this game on our list tonight of games that we're going to cover. But the one reason why I want to cover this football game is because of the first team on this list, and that's UNLV at Boise State. Saturday the 18th, 2:30 p.m., FS1. Boise State, heavy favorite here at minus 12.5, over under 62.5. Why I want to cover this game. UNLV has a chance to still fight at 6-0 for this G5 playoff spot. They haven't played necessarily the greatest opponents, but this is an opponent that helps get into the next level in that G5 conversation in beating Boise State. People still know that Boise State made the playoffs last year. That still gives them that national coverage and that name coverage where, holy shit, UNLV beat Boise State. Boise State was 12.5-point favorites at home. UNLV's got to answer all the questions in this football game and go get it. UNLV scores a ton of points, but these two teams are very similar to me. Quarterbacks that can kind of get things going or quarterbacks that really, really struggle at times. And you see that happen a lot with Maddox Madsen. You see that happen a lot with Calandria there at UNLV. And what I think makes Calandria a better option than Maddox Madsen in this football game is Calandria can get out and run the football as well. He's really good with his legs, really good at keeping things going. UNLV does have the better pass catchers in this football game. UNLV does have the better rushing attack in this football game. So I think that helps them. I think Boise State may have the edge up front defensively and can get after the quarterback a little bit and give them kind of some fits. But I just don't think that UNLV should be 12.5-point favorites. And if you do what we do here and what we tell you to do and buy the hook and you get this thing at 13, I like UNLV at 13. I like Dan Mullen. I think that they're going to be set up well and ready to go in this football game. They know that this game is the biggest game with implications for them when it comes to trying to make the playoffs on this season. So they have to get it done. I'm with you, Jordan. Boise State's quarterback sucks. There are times when Maddox Matson does suck. There are times when he kind of wows you and makes a big-time throw. But, man, it doesn't happen often. And without that rushing attack that they had last year, it happens even less because teams aren't scared of him. So not really much on it. This would be the definition of a quickie for us tonight. Just wanted to bring this to light a little bit, that there still is a ton of life for this UNLV football team when it comes to trying to make a playoff spot. So wanted to shed some light on that football game. 3 games for you left here, and then we will get into our book it / fade it segment. We're going to continue to call it the fade it segment because things have turned around for us. And we're superstitious, and we're going to stick to the superstition because it's working. Texas Tech at Arizona State, a banger Big 12 matchup here. If you would have rewound to week 1 and looked at this matchup, you would have known this was going to be a big one. Maybe not as big as it looks now because Arizona State is 4-2, but this is still as big as it gets for this Texas Tech football team. This game's the 18th at 3 p.m. on Fox. Tech minus 8.5, over under 51.5. The first question I have for Arizona State: what is Sam Leavitt's health? I know it said today that he's probable. I need to know he's playing because Jeff Sims is horrible. You are not a good football team with Jeff Sims at the quarterback position. I am upset that they don't have a better option as QB2 on this football team because you're not winning games with him. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm going to be completely blunt about this. Arizona State's offense is not that good. It's not that good at all. Jordan Tyson is that good. Outside of him and Sam Leavitt, it's not good. Their run game, not that good. Your defense, they're okay. So for you to have even an 8.5-point chance on this football game, it's going to have to be Sam Leavitt, and you are going to have to find somebody else other than Jordan Tyson. We've been banging the table for weeks. Jordan Tyson cannot be all that you have because when you play a good football team like Texas Tech, they are going to do everything they can to make you beat them with somebody else. This Texas Tech defense is really good, especially for the Big 12. It's really, really good for the Big 12. They are a football team that can compete at the highest of levels this season. They went out in the portal, spent all this money. It's working. It's working. Joey McGuire, congratulations. It's working. You're not really on the hot seat anymore because it is working. Because coming into the season, you're on one of the hottest seats because of the money that your program spent and how much they bought into this football team. Also, kind of like Sam Leavitt, is Baron Morton healthy in this football game? He's a little dinged up. We don't know if he's going to play, but I'm pretty sure he's going to go. I'm drawing a blank on the backup quarterback's name. I don't have the fellas here with me tonight to try to – I think it's Will Hammond, I think's his name. He's a reliable QB2 versus Arizona State's QB2 and Jeff Sims. You can give it the ball to Hammond and feel like you still might go win you a football game. Hell, he did it for you against Utah. And you saw Texas Tech dominate Utah. The score didn't reflect that game. Texas Tech dominated at every level of that football game. Texas Tech is damn near top 10 in all categories and football categories. They're as well-rounded offensively and defensively as it gets. The one thing that I like about Arizona State a little bit that gets overlooked is Arizona State's played a ton. Go back to last season and this season, a ton of one-possession football games. They are a grinded-out football team. Kenny Dillingham is a great giver of the message on the sideline when the going gets tough. Fellas, don't give up. We are still right here. We've been here before, and as long as we have Leavitt at quarterback and Tyson running routes, we're going to have a chance. So if the game is tight, and it's tight at the end, you have to look at that a little bit, that Arizona State has had these really tight football games. Texas Tech hasn't really had those football games that have been real tough. It's just been belt to ass. How does it look when the going gets a little bit tough? Well, if I'm Texas Tech, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rely on Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey because that's a hell of a running back duo that you have there, and don't get away from it. And they have a stable of receivers. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't allow it to be close. Continue to answer some of the doubters that are out there because there's some people that are out there that are still saying Texas Tech. I'm not a believer because they're in the Big 12. I'm the opposite. I am a believer, and I'm even more of a believer because you're in the Big 12. And the going isn't as tough for you. And I don't think you're going to be as banged up when it comes to playoff time if you make the playoffs. Get this football game, answer all these questions, and the sky's the limit for your football team as well this season. I love what I'm seeing from Texas Tech. The second to last football game is another football game that's going to have all the eyes because of the two teams that are in this game. That's Tennessee at Alabama. Saturday the 18th, 6:30 p.m. on ABC. Bama minus 8.5, over under 58.5. Both these teams 5-1, by the way. I'm a believer that Bama is trending in the right direction continuously. I'm a believer that Bama has things going completely well, that they have found what they need to do. They have found what works for them offensively and defensively, and I like what I see from them right now. Mike, I'm with you. The comment coming in here. Can't wait for this one. Mike, I'm going to be honest a little bit here that I think that Alabama handles business. I think they handle business. People are going to say that, Tennessee was close with Arkansas last week because they just overlooked them because Bama was the next week. And that happens a ton. It happens a lot in the two sports that I cover on DTS and here in college basketball and college football. You overlook your opponents and you get got or you barely sneak one out. But what I saw in that football game is Arkansas kind of pushed Tennessee around on the lines of scrimmage a little bit. That's what I liked when I saw that. I was like, wow, Arkansas, you're pushing this opponent around. And that's what I hated for Tennessee. You should have dominated that football game, man. You didn't. Congratulations, you won, but damn, you should have done a lot better. Now, one thing that Tennessee does do well is they sack the quarterback. They lead the SEC in sacks. That's impressive, especially in the SEC. You can't take anything away from them on that. But what Tennessee is doing at the same time with that is they're allowing 30-plus points a game to SEC opponents. So it kind of seems like it's, sack or bust for the Tennessee defense? It's almost what it seems like a little bit. The overarching question that I have for Bama's defense is, does the secondary look and play as good as it appears at times? There are some times when opponents' quarterbacks just don't make the throws. We saw that last week with Perdula from Mizzou against Bama's secondary. There were some guys running loose fairly often, and that you just couldn't make the throws. Because I don't think Alabama's front seven gets home like the Alabama front sevens of what we're used to in the Nick Saban era. Now, LT Overton, that dude is a difference maker on that Alabama front. As long as you have him, you have a guy that can get things going and beat up opposing offensive lines. So that is your hope and pray for sure on that front seven, on that defense. Tennessee, if you rewind back to that Georgia game like we did earlier a little bit when we were discussing Georgia, Joey Aguilar and Tennessee love the explosive plays. Love them. And if Brazel can get behind this Alabama secondary, they're prone to get you some explosive plays and keep you in the football game and keep things going. What Tennessee doesn't do great is take what the defense gives them and take some checkdowns at times and get you 7 yards if you only need 7 yards. They love to bust people over the top and get down the field really quick. Once again, like I discussed earlier with a different team, I don't think Tennessee is a team that can get you down the field in slow, methodical drives. It's got to be, let's get this thing going. Let's have a little bit of a tempo. Let's catch them on their heels and let's hum and let's get it moving quick. That's what Tennessee's going to do in this football game for sure. I fully expect. But I think Joey Aguilar is going to have a tough time in this environment. I don't see how Joey Aguilar comes in here and just shreds this Bama defense and lights things up. I just don't see how that happens in this football game. Tennessee's going to try to get pressure on Ty Simpson. We saw it last week. Ty Simpson doesn't really budge under pressure. This is a different Ty Simpson from week 1 against Florida State. He no longer is missing his timing. He's no longer second-guessing himself. He's no longer not getting through his progressions. He's doing it all. And when the going gets tough, Ty Simpson shines. That's what I think the difference is in this football game. Give me Ty Simpson over Joey Aguilar 100 out of 100 times. It's not a debate for me. Tennessee can't run the ball that well. I think they're going to struggle running the ball in this football game as well. So I just don't see Tennessee defense slowing down this Alabama offense. I don't see it happening. The last question I have, Jam Miller, the running back for Alabama, is in concussion protocol. He is a difference maker for Alabama when it comes to running the football. I think they do need him, especially in hard football games like this. But I think even without him, they have enough talent there behind him, that backfill, that they can do enough to get the job done. And I think I like all things tied in this football game. And this is going to be a damn good environment. Anytime you see a Tennessee-Bama football game, don't miss it, man. Lay your eyes on it. It's going to be a good football game. There's going to be some wild shit that happens. And it is known for close games down the stretch. It really is. This one could be different. And for me, it's because of the quarterback. The quarterback margin is so large from Bama to Tennessee that I just don't know if Tennessee can hang. The last football game before we get into the Book It, Fade It segment is USC at Notre Dame. I'm going to be honest. I am probably the most excited for this football game than I am any other football game on the docket that we covered so far. If you notice, this is the last football game. We did leave Mizzou off the docket this week. That Mizzou-Auburn game is going to be a banger as well. So obviously that's my number one game on my list. But this right here is 1B to that, and that's because there is so much at stake in this football game for both of these football teams. USC at Notre Dame, Saturday the 18th, 6:30 p.m. on NBC. Notre Dame minus 9.5, over under 61.5. USC 5-1, only lost to Illinois. Notre Dame 4-2. This is Notre Dame win. I think he means Notre Dame wins, but USC covers. I'm with that. I'm with that, but I'm with a little bit more that I think USC could definitely win this football game. And I think USC can win this football game, especially if Lane plays at the receiver position for them. Because if you watch USC football, Mekhi Lemon at the receiver position, oh my Lord. The guy's uncoverable, and he catches everything. So get Lane back, who is the exact same way, and let Maeva, who has looked absolutely incredible, playing at an absolute elite level, and made everybody that thought Lincoln Riley getting rid of Miller Moss to start Maeva was crazy. He has answered any doubt that anybody in the country had. He is arguably playing at a top 5 quarterback level in the country, and his counterpart in this game in C.J. Carr, first-year starter, is as well. C.J. Carr has looked spectacular. The difference is, though, that I think USC has way more talent offensively at the receiver position than I think Notre Dame has at the receiver position. And they've had some guys kind of come to life and give them a little bit their receiver position, but I just think the margin is much greater for USC than it is Notre Dame in this football game. Also, USC is not that soft-ass defense anymore like people are used to talking about with Lincoln Riley and USC football. I mean, they're playing pretty damn good football on the defense side of the ball. And with USC, you obviously know that offense can ramp it up and score 45.5 points a game, with that being the number 7 in the country. And Notre Dame, this is not Notre Dame offense that we're sometimes used to that has slow, methodical drives. Notre Dame can ramp it up and score you 40 points a game. So that's where these two teams are a little bit different. I think Notre Dame's defense has taken a step back compared to what it was last year. I know it was hard to answer what they did last year because they were so damn good, but I think USC's offense can get their way at a lot of times with this Notre Dame defense. What Notre Dame needs to do, and most people are going to know this is going to come out of my mouth, is do what they do best, and that is pound the rock with this running back duo that they have, because it is top 3 in the country running back room, and just absolutely sucking the life out of defenses. When it gets to third down and you're hoping you can get off the field and get you a breather, they get you a third down pickup for 4 yards, and they do it at a high rate and at a high level. And that's what makes them really, really good. The one thing that Notre Dame has done that is going to be an eye popper for some people that didn't realize this is they're only allowing 27 points total, not a game, total in the last 3 games, and 0 points in the second half of those 3 games. So what I just said, if you didn't hear me, 27 points have been given up by the Notre Dame defense in the last 3 games. 0 of those points coming in the second half. What that tells me is Notre Dame goes in at halftime and makes all the right adjustments, sucks the life out of opponents, and beats them down. Completely de-pantses them and lets them realize that they have no shot to come back and win this football game. That is what makes Notre Dame really tough to beat. And it really sucks for them that they have played 2 of the top 4 teams in the country the first 2 weeks of the season. Otherwise, this team is better than 4-2. But I also think that USC is getting up there with the elite category this season in the Big Ten. I like what I'm seeing from them. Both defenses allowing less than 21.5 points per game. And what USC doesn't do well is play on the road with Lincoln Riley. That is where USC does struggle. So this game kind of comes down to, can Lincoln Riley get that monkey off his back of not playing well on the road and going into a tough environment? Because if you've ever been to a Notre Dame game, you know this environment's going to be crazy in this football game. That's for damn sure. And really looking forward to this one. Mike, you were probably correct that USC does cover, but Notre Dame wins this football game. I would probably get in line with you on that for sure. And I completely made a mistake. I am become 100% wrong. How did I forget this football game? This is actually, rain check, the last football game I have for you. I was wrong. I was completely wrong about what I just said about USC Notre Dame. I'm most excited for this one. How could you not be excited for a Utah BYU matchup? These two teams hate each other. They hate each other. They spend 365 days a year. They don't care who they're playing. These two teams still hate each other. Ask either one of them who you hate, who their fans hate. I hate BYU. I hate Utah. This game is the 18th at 7 p.m. on Fox. Utah minus 3.5, over under 48.5. High-level matchup. Huge Big 12 implications on this one. The winner of this one is in the driver's seat to make a run at the Big 12, and this is as good as it gets. I'm stoked for this one. Proville at night. I could honestly just say Proville at night and then move on from this football game. But I'm going to get into it just a little bit more. Proville at night is a place that nobody wants to see on their schedule. Nobody wants to go play BYU at 7 p.m. Ever. That place is nuts. That place gets rowdy. That place makes opponents' lives living hell all night long. Where I think Utah has the upper hand in this football game is the quarterback position as well. I think Devin Dampier is much better than Bear Bachmeier, especially when it comes to throwing the football. But what Bear Bachmeier does really well as a young quarterback, besides wearing like number 47 or 43, whatever it is he pounds the rock, man. He is not afraid to get in there and get dirty and go get you a first down and earn it. He absolutely pounds the rock, and I love what I see from him when it comes to that. Now, if you can keep him in the pocket and make him try to beat you throwing the football, you can have some success against this football team. They do have a couple of good receivers, and I'm really impressed with what they do. But Bachmeier is not going to win you a football game consistently throwing the football, especially against a Utah defense. BYU's opponents so far have been nothing in comparison to what Utah is about to bring to them, offensively or defensively. Like Josh said in his comment here, pound the rock, baby. Bear Bachmeier has to pound the rock. And if you're not pounding the rock with Bear Bachmeier, you need to pound the rock with LJ Martin, because that dude's an absolute difference maker at the running back position as well, and he's not afraid to get down and get dirty either. But they've been doing that against opponents that don't have the defensive front that Utah does. Plain and simple. Utah's defense is much better than anybody they've faced so far. BYU's defense has been really good this season, but they haven't played an offense like Utah. They haven't played a quarterback like Dampier. They haven't played an offensive line that's got a couple guys that might go in the first round on the offensive line like Utah does. That's what's going to be different for BYU. That's why a lot of people with BYU at 6-0 still aren't bought in, because the schedule's been cake, man. You should be 6-0. You should come into this football game at home and Provo at night 6-0, letting Utah come in here and playing an undefeated opponent. That's what you should have done so far. So congratulations that you've answered all those questions and you're doing what you're supposed to do. But can you get this one? And if they can get this one, they're in complete control of their own fate moving forward. And, man, they can do some big things in the Big 12 this season. But I just don't think Utah allows them to do it. I just don't. Utah is damn good at getting it third and short and then converting on third down. 60% of the time they convert on third down. That's incredible. That's the number one, if you didn't know. That's the number one for your ass on third down in the country this season. Fantastic stuff from that Utah offense, man. I want to see them establish the run a little bit for Utah outside of Dampier. I don't want to see him take as many licks in this football game, because Utah, they will put that helmet in your chest and knock your ass in the dirt. They're not afraid to do that. So that's why I'm looking forward to this football game, man. This is a hell of a rivalry. Like I said, I can't express it enough that these two teams hate each other every single day of the year. And do not miss this football game. Clear your plans for 7 p.m. on Saturday night. Banger of a football game. Grab you a cold one and sit back and enjoy a hell of a Big 12 matchup. I'm so stoked for that one. So like I said, I lied a second ago, but that was my last one on this episode. So what that means is that we move into our book it /fade it segment in this football game. And I'm going to go ahead and pull the list up for you here and get it popping in just a second. But what I want to do is, I'm not going to review our picks last week, but what I'm going to do is tell you that we did go 7-6 last week. We had 13 games out there. We go 7-6. We are now to 37-41. We are scratching and clawing. The floaties were thrown out. The live rafts was thrown out for ourselves here on this network because it looked ugly early on. But we never got scared. We just had fun with it. We just changed the name to Fade It. And since we changed the name to Fade It, it's working. So if you're fading us, keep fading us. We're not scared, man. We're superstitious. Keep doing what you're doing and helping us out. Like we say here all the time now, hey, shop the lines, find the best available out there, shop the books, buy the hooks. Make sure you're doing that, because you can go get you a point and a half, 2 points elsewhere and get you a better line for you to bet on and have a better chance to win you some money. So, if you're on YouTube with us, following us here, you're watching it back on YouTube, the bets are all right here in front of you, right here on the list. You don't have to hear me read them off. They're right here in front of you. Take a picture if you want to. Tell your friends, do what you want. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to play the money sign like we did the first 6 weeks. First 5 weeks. Stop doing that. Tide's a turn for us. You're not going to hear money sign tonight. Not for me. That's for damn sure. You can play it at home if you want, all you want. So the first play for us that we have here, and we doubled down here in this football game, man. This is 2 pizzas for the price of 1 in this football game. UNC at Cal. We're going to take Cal -8. Pair that up with the over of 46 in this football game. North Carolina's defense can't stop a nosebleed. That's for damn sure. They have tons of questions around that program right now. So give me Cal -8 over 46. Book it and book it. The next game, hey, like we said again, there must be a special going on at Pizza Hut this week because we're getting 4 pizzas for the price of 2. Washington at Michigan. Washington +6. Washington at Michigan. First half under 26.5. We don't think that Michigan offense is very scary. We think Washington can slow them down a little bit. And we like all things Washington +6 in the first half, under 26.5 in this football game. Book it and book it. If you know what we talk about here as well, we always say buy the hook, like I said a second ago. First half totals, you cannot buy the hook. Team totals, cannot buy the hook. That's why the hooks are on here. Those will get you at times, but don't be scared. Trust us on this one. The next play that we have for you is Army at Tulane. Give us Tulane -9 in this football game. I think they have too much at stake, too much to answer for this Army football team. I think we've seen Army's best already. I think Tulane and Jake Retzlaff in that program are getting things going in the right direction, and they've been pretty damn consistent all season long. Tulane -9. Book that shit. The next play that we have for you here, Ohio State at Wisconsin. Give us Ohio State team total over 32.5. Man, they belt the ass opponents. Wisconsin's not good in any aspect of the football right now. I think Luke Fickell's on the hot seat. The fans are leaving the stands, and they're not even listening to jump around in the fourth quarter. They're out the door by the second half, and things aren't looking good for Wisconsin. Ohio State, another just absolute statement football game, over 32.5. Book it. Next play, Texas A&M at Arkansas. We saw Arkansas's best last week, man. And Arkansas is going to be a little bit down and out about that, how they gave it their best and they still didn't win a football game. Texas A&M has too much at stake to allow this game to be close. They are finding themselves in the top 10 of rankings. They're finding themselves in the conversations that can go win a national championship. Mike Elko, this is a Mike Elko podcast. We praise him any chance we get. And the coaching change at Arkansas right now, I don't know, man. This isn't like 2014? And this isn't 2014 anymore, man. Give me Texas A&M -7. Book it. Next play for you in a heavyweight SEC matchup, Ole Miss at Georgia. We're going to take Ole Miss +8 in this football game. Talked a little bit earlier how we feel like these teams are very similar. Ole Miss has a ton to gain. So does Georgia in this football game. I think this game's close late. I'm not saying Georgia doesn't win it. This is one of those games like where Georgia wins, but Ole Miss covers. I think they do just enough to get in there and cover this football game and keep things close late in the game. And I think you see Georgia kind of stretch it out by 6 points there late maybe. That's kind of what Georgia does. But I don't think Georgia blows them out. Georgia doesn't seem to blow anybody out anymore in this day and age of college football this season. Next play for you, kind of alluded to it earlier, UNLV at Boise State. Give me UNLV +13 points all day long. I love this line. I cannot believe this line is this big. And why I kind of get that way too is Boise State, like I said earlier, doesn't have all that much to play for anymore. So did they keep the guys bought in? Did they kind of overlook this football game? Is this just another Mountain West opponent for them? Give me UNLV +13 because they have everything to play for at this point. And Mullen's going to have this team trending in the right direction and ready to go, knowing what's at stake for this football game. This is a big game on the schedule for them. UNLV +13, book it. We have 6 more plays for you here. I think we're giving you 15 this week, man. Like we said, when the going gets tough and we're trying to make a comeback, get even or get even worse, hey, splatter the board, spray it around, throw darts, pick you some. Oregon at Rutgers. Oregon -17. Oregon coming off that loss. Oregon's got a lot to prove here. They get back up. They answer all the questions. They mount it, and they beat ass. Oregon -17. Book that shit. Maryland at UCLA. Maryland +4 in this football game. UCLA, hey, things have looked good for you the last couple of weeks since the coaching change. Maryland's a pretty damn good football team, honestly. I don't think they're great, but they're good, and I think they can give this UCLA team fits, and I think Maryland +4. It's not a trendy pick. We're kind of going against the public here. That's why I like it even more. Maryland +4. Book it. USC at Notre Dame. Talked about this a second ago. I agree with Mike when he spit it out there on the comment. Notre Dame wins, but USC covers. This line got to USC plus 10, and when it got to USC plus 10, we jumped on it. USC plus 10, book it. Last 3 plays here for you on the docket, and they're all going to be first half unders. Utah at BYU, first half under 26.5. Like we said earlier, this game's in Provo, man. Not a lot of good things happen. Teams can have some serious hard times in Provo. BYU hasn't played a defense like Utah, and I think this team can suffocate that offense and make the going tough for BYU, and it's already going to be tough in Provo for Utah. First half under 26.5. Book it. Georgia Tech at Duke, first half under 30.5. Same thing here, man. This is 2 teams that Georgia Tech's going to try to pound the rock, run the football. Duke's defense is pretty damn good. Talked about it earlier, how good they were playing. And Duke at home, I like it. First half under 30.5. The last play for you here in the docket this week, and we will get out of here on this episode, is Washington at Michigan. First half under 26.5. It's a Michigan football game. I need to tell you no more. First half under 26.5. Book that shit. That is all the plays I have for you on this episode this week. Like we said, the Book It segment is getting back. We're 37-41, only 4 games under 500, when at one point we were 8. We're scratching and clawing, and we're doing things right here. We got a good read. Things look good now for us. Hey, thank you for sticking around this episode. I know this got a little bit long, and it was just me talking the whole time, so hopefully I kept things interesting for you and covered the games like you were hoping for. Kind of did that review episode at the beginning. If you didn't get in here early enough and you get bored tonight, go back and watch the beginning of the episode. Did the highs from the national conversation, the Penn State conversation, the dog of the week. Did a lot of stuff early, the top 25. Kind of did that review section there at the beginning and turned it into the preview segment at the end of this episode. So thanks for following along with me tonight. Hopefully next week we'll get in here and have 2 episodes again, and we don't have so many weddings. Also, if you get married during college football season in October, I'm scratching my head for a reason, because what are we doing? What are we doing? Be better. We don't do that. Come on, be better, man. Let's not do that anymore. Let's get away from that. You can follow us on YouTube at Deep Threat Sports, Apple Deep Threat Sports, Spotify Deep Threat Sports, X DT_sports_, Facebook Deep Threat Sports Network. Make sure you're following, liking, subscribing, telling your friends, hitting the alert button. You don't know when we're going to go. We go when we can. We are busy men. This is not our full-time job. We just love giving you guys this content and talking some ball. Josh, thanks, man. Thanks for the feedback on the great episode. Thanks for following along all episode, brother. Appreciate you. Hey, like I said, follow us on those networks. You can get with us. I'm Colin. Till next time, everybody. Peace.